Former white supremacist TM Garret are erasing the hate. Every Monday, 6 p.m. at WKRA FM 92.7, The Change. This is TM Garret.
I'm Pastor Ray.
And this is Erasing the Hate. Man, it's been a while since we've been on air. We've been almost off air for, what did you say, 2 years?
2 years.
And the rest was Facebook and just being active out there without any radio, podcasts and whatever. And Ray was busy with his church. And, well, we're newbies here on this radio station, The Change, FM 92.7 here in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Well, before that, we were in Memphis. You remember?
Right, Memphis. We had our run-ins with Memphis. It was a run. It was a good run, and we did some great things there. But I just feel that maybe we were. I think it was too early for this. I think we needed some more. Background or foundation for where we are now. And I think
it was the support. You would think if you have a show, and our show was called Let's Erase the Hate, and since most of our campaigns, including the tattoo campaign, we'll talk about that in the show, in this first show, where we'll also introduce ourselves and what we do. Maybe it was too early for that kind of show because we're in the Memphis metro area, which we're still technically, even North Mississippi, but it's only 40 minutes to Memphis. So let's count it in. But in my opinion, it's the support. You would think that you have more businesses supporting this, that you have more individuals supporting this, because we're talking about erasing the hate, you know,
that don't reach headlines.
And you know, did you realize something before that? We were on air in Memphis, and that has an African American population of about 70% now in Holly Springs,
right?
And it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So the demographics are the same, and but a lot of things we are working at that's the same here too. So erasing the hate.
So erasing the hate. This whole to our audience that may be tuning in today to just inviting us on, and we appreciate you guys being with us or listening in with us. Give us a little time to get back used to doing what we do. Mostly we just sharing our heart. So this whole platform of this radio show is to bring back some unity, bring back some just loving people right where they are, accepting them for, if they're Democrat, accepting them if they're Republican, who they like or who they, just as long as we kind of do it in a sense of being together, getting together and doing that in unity and love, and just kind of bringing all those things back. So that's the whole part of
you're saying something there. Yeah. Tomorrow it's election day, and we will talk about that a little bit more, of course, in the show. We have an whole hour, so we have some time to get onto the topic. But this is exactly what it is: compassion. It is about, look, when I started with my activism, that was in 2016, and that was when Elton Sterling and Philando Castile got murdered by the police.
Yeah,
and there were protests, and I had two black co-workers, and I was talking to them. I said, look, I think that's all great with the protests and everything, but there's one problem, I think, because everybody will go home in 2 weeks and think they've done enough until another black man gets murdered, and then you go not being active again. No, don't sit there and say, this was great, now let's go home until we can do it again. No, you have to do that every day. This activism has to be great every day. And this is when I started my nonprofit organization, and that's the ironic part. It's called Change. Yeah. So, and Pastor Ray is also one of the directors at Change,
right?
Which is a nonprofit organization that works against racism, against anti-Semitism, against hatred in general, bringing people together. And this is what happened there. 2016, you've seen the black community and the white community trying to talk to each other, and we have the same right now again, with protests.
More extreme, though.
Yeah, it's more extreme. But I said, man, and look, I'm originally not from here, you can hear an accent. So I was born and raised in Germany, so that's where the funny accent comes from. And then I moved to Memphis in 2012, or to the metro area outside of Memphis, actually to Olive Branch first. And I was thinking, like, the U.S. is this multicultural melting pot, that you see in the movies, like the good cop and the black cop, and they're best friends, and they go to each other's houses and hang out and whatever. And then you move to Memphis and you realize, what the hell is going on here? I couldn't see Memphis, that. Huh? Yeah, and I was like, why? If you ask people, you've got black friends, yeah. And say, how often have they been at your dinner table? And the answer is, no, not at all.
Yeah.
So, dude, stop calling me your friends, acquaintances, teammates, classmates, whatever they are, until people are not worthy to break bread with you at your house, that you invite them home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call them your friends. And the same, I ask my black friends, I'm like, you've got white friends? For the most part, you get yes. I just talked to somebody, no. That's really interesting. Not voluntarily. He said he doesn't know how to make white friends.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. If you grew up, in your community, and what do? Knock at somebody's house? Hey, can we be friends? No, of course not. So there's often chances that we have to take.
Yeah.
This is what I try to do with that nonprofit, actually building bridges over these gaps that seem to get bigger and bigger. And now we don't have it only with black and white. We have it with the left and the right, with liberals and conservatives, Republicans and Democrats. And that is crazy. And again, tomorrow is election
day. Right.
But
when we was in Memphis, when we was at it was 92 or 97.9, we was embarking on a time where they was trying to get rid of those statues.
Yeah.
So it was doing the Kaepernick thing, when the kneeling. I think so. We had that a little bit as a platform to build off of as well. But now we have something a little bit more extreme, things that's happening in our world. We're dealing with COVID-19, a lot of BLM. Black Lives Matter, police brutality. We're doing a lot of that now. So what we're trying to do as a platform is have a Me Too partner. So what I'm saying is, people out there, you're part of this. We need people out here being a part of this to bring that unity back, to bring that love back, to bring that harmony back with our communities. Even though back then, even though there probably were some tension or some dislike, it wasn't expressed and in so much hatred as it is today. So what we're doing, we're trying to bring a Me Too partner, which that is out there listening, we want you to partner with us. We want you to be a part of this, because it just starts with the radio show, but it doesn't end at a radio show.
Oh, no.
This
is just one of the tools that we have to actually do something in this community.
Right. It fills out into the community with other things that we use. So with that being said, our radio show, as you know, you're here listening to us at 6 o'clock. So our radio show is going to be Mondays, right? Every Monday at 6 o'clock, right here on this channel. And we also will have different areas for people to watch, even live on some Facebook Live. Tell them about the Facebook Live, our page.
Just look up Erasing the Hate. You will find different pages calling Erasing the Hate. The one takes care about a tattoo campaign, and I will tell you all about that in a couple of minutes. The other one is called Erasing the Hate Radio Show, and this is where you can find the live stream. And if you go there right now, you will be able to see the two of us sitting here and talking. And you also can listen online. I believe Spreaker and a couple other platforms are streaming actually the radio station. And if you're here local, of course, then you're probably listening on 92.7 FM here in Holly Springs. Now, for people who don't know us, so we're both originally not from Holly Springs. Ray's actually from the Byhalia area and now lives in Olive Branch. I moved here first from Germany, Olive Branch and Horn Lake, and then now outside of Holly Springs. But what brought us together, and this is the really, really crazy part for those who don't know us yet.
Yeah, let's do this. Of course, I know people listening, and they're listening at your accent, and they're wondering, they can't see us, those that are listening and not watching, they may not know that you're white or from Germany and I'm a black guy, right? So let kind of give you a little bit of your background to the people, let them know who you are, and then I'm gonna come back and let them know who you are.
So I'm now 45 in 2020, but there was a time in my life about 20 years ago where I would not have wanted to sit here with Ray unless to debate him or maybe even beat him up or something, because I used to be a very, very different man. Today, what you're talking about, compassion, unconditional love, that's a great business. And I love being in that business, spreading that love, bringing people together. But 20 years ago, my business was hating people. I used to be a white supremacist. I was a neo-Nazi skinhead, and I was even so far to become a KKK leader. Now that sounds crazy, and I remember when people hear that the first time, the looks on their face. And I remember a year ago, 2 years ago, Ray in his church, they had a summer program last summer where they got kids aged like 5 to 15 or whatever, something like that. And got them, picked them up with a school bus, gave them breakfast, gave them lunch, because the parents couldn't afford it, and then brought them back and played games and whatever. And I said, man, I need to check out what he's doing, And so I went there one day and knocked at the door, and he was, of course, excited to see me, and we sat down. So I was the only white guy in there, and all the kids, they're all sitting around us in a half circle. And again, some were like 4 or 5, a couple were like 15, 16.
Right.
And looking, and Ray said, well, it's my friend TM, and he used to be in the KKK. And I could see the face, and I was a little bit like, dude, I hate you. Why did you but it was...
Because I knew I was going to get that reaction.
Right. So, of course, the next reaction was like, but not anymore. And so I remember you asked a couple of kids, what did you think about when you heard that TM used to be in the KKK? But now he's sitting here with us, and the one younger kid, like 10 or whatever, I was ready to walk out. And they're like the 15, 16-year-old, I was ready to fight.
Yeah.
I remember that. But it was cool. I mean, I stayed there for a couple of hours, and I played with the kids, and of course they got to know me as that new person that I am for many, many years now, and getting this acceptance and actually unconditional love back, even though they heard about what the KKK is, and then hearing that I used to be a member or even a leader, and then we become friends and play ball and stuff like that. I mean, it was a great experience, and I love doing these things. So, yeah, this is my background, and I left that white supremacist movement in 2002. And for about 10 years, I pretended it didn't happen. One of the reasons was I was afraid of judgment and rejection. Because, seriously, if I ask, who likes the KKK? And I hope everybody who's listening is like, no, I don't.
Right.
But this is... Would you talk to somebody that you know that hates you or that doesn't like you? Would you take advice?
No. Who wants to be in a friendship with a person?
Right. So if you're in those groups, and everybody has doubts when they're in these groups, And I had them too, all through that career in those groups. That's normal. Everybody has them. It's like people are in gangs, for example. You have doubts, but who are you going to talk to? Somebody who you know that hates you? You don't take advice from those people, So you just stick around until it just gets too much. Those doubts, in my case, they were just piling up. There were a couple of things that happened. And the breaking point for me was actually that I received compassion at a time that I thought I didn't deserve it. From somebody who was different from me. It was my landlord where I moved in, and he was a Turkish Muslim. And it was 1 year after 9/11. I thought all Muslims are like Osama bin Laden,
Gotcha.
And he will murder me in my bed at some point.
Yeah.
And he was just so nice over and over and over. And I was like, dude, I hate you. Hate me back. Come on, hate me back. I thought like love is something for hippies, and I felt like I'm that warrior,
Yeah.
Like, man, you're with your goddamn love. Stop,
Right, yeah.
I didn't tell him that,
Right.
But that's what over a time frame of like 6 months broke that hate, and it crumbled more and more. So I had to discover this world that's out there, and I realized, man, people are just normal, and it's actually a great world. And I started being normal for 10 years, and then I kind of slipped into my activism after 2012, mainly after 2015. And this is the good part, because if I would sit here as the regular white dude, people maybe wouldn't even listen. But here it's like, okay, who's that white dude sitting here with an accent? He's not even from here. And then with a background, the former racist. Mm-hmm. Then people want to know what I got to say. And so I use this as a platform as well. And of course, activism. I mean, I'm a member of the NAACP. I work with the Simon Wiesenthal Center, which is a Jewish human rights organization. I support all communities, no matter how you look, where you come from, how you talk, how you love, and again, how you vote. But right. So would you have sat with me here 20 years ago?
No, it wouldn't have happened. I don't think I would have wanted to be in the same room, because it would have been at some point.
Only because I was in the Klan back then, or was there another reason? I think there was another reason too.
No, it was just that reason, because it was different. It was a threat for one, mm-hmm. And then not only is it a threat, it's uncomfortable. Like now, how do you feel when you're talking to people now, and you let them know what your former life was? How is that awkward now?
It's gotten better. I had years that I had. Imagine it's a coming out, and sometimes if you're in charge of your coming out, if you're in charge of the narrative, you can steer it in the right direction. That's okay. But if somebody else puts you on the spot and tell them who you are, tell them what you've done in the past, then that it makes it more complicated. But I got used to it, and I'm also so active. You just have to look me up, and you find all the things I do now that speak for itself, that I know those people know me already with my activism now. And if I tell them now what I did in the past, the curiosity is more like, oh man, how did you change? What made you do all this? Rather than, man, dude, why you been so bad, And that focus is a little bit different. So, and that makes it much easier.
That's easier, yeah. I mean, it's a way of life, and just getting, expecting it, and then all the work you do in the Jewish community, those were that we know in history, the Hitler. The Holocaust and all that, but I noticed,
a lot of people here in the U.S. don't know about that. Right. There's the education when it comes to these things, because I think America had its own problems for so long. If you look at the history, that very often the focus is more there than people know World War II. And they know that there was Hitler and he was a bad guy, and they know a little bit about that, but not about the whole extent what happened there. But it's important to understand, especially today, to talk about stuff like the Holocaust and how it could happen. That I just had a conversation with one of our friends, Mary Beth Conley. She used to be with us on the radio station where we used to be, and she's also an anchor at Channel 3 in Memphis. And we're talking to her, and she posted a meme saying something about all white supremacists are not intelligent or whatever, or they found life in the clouds of Venus or whatever, and it's more intelligent than white supremacists. And somebody called out for it and said, well, that's not how you change people. Well, it was just a meme, Yeah. But it's really, of course, a lot of racists are intelligent. Even, it's like Forrest Gump said, stupid is, stupid does.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies.
Right. Oh, it's great. But it explains a lot, And you have, of course, a lot of those people are not intelligent. They're intelligent, but they don't do intelligent things, and that's a problem. How does it come that far that you do something that is not intelligent, that goes against any logic? Because racism, hatred, white supremacy, that's against any logic. I mean, if you're just a little bit sane, that, But how can people that have degrees, that love their children, all of a sudden become hateful towards a certain kind of people? And look at Germany. You had most of the Germans were either supporting the Holocaust or just looking away or saying it didn't happen, or at the time, How can that happen, that millions and millions and millions of people supporting a genocide? You can't say they were all stupid. You can't say they were all not intelligent. Of course not. But what happened here, and I see this country, something like that is happening there too. It's dehumanizing.
But it's an organization, and every organization has to have a leader and a platform and organize and things like that. So they have to be somewhat intelligent because I mean, I think a lot of it, they care not to learn a lot about history. Because I remember one of the guys that was coming out of the movement that we took to the Dr. Martin Luther King, and he saw some of the history of the Negro baseball league, and he didn't know that because they told him that didn't happen in history, that black people didn't play sports, and so all that erasing the history because those who knew the history, but if they trying to form an organization and control the narrative, they will lead it that way.
Yeah, but why is this happening? And this is the important part to understand, because like we have an environment right now, and we come actually to the topic here. What's happening tomorrow? We have an election, and you have two sides that are so contrary, that are so against each other. I have never seen that here in this country or in my whole lifetime, how this happens, that you have people that are dehumanizing each other. I think it happens more from one side than the other, but it's my personal opinion. I see it on both sides, that people start taking the humanity away of others. And this is where it becomes dangerous. This is why Germany went down the drain and why so many Germans supported the genocide, because they didn't feel like they're killing human beings. They felt like they're killing bugs or rats or whatever. This is how it was promoted. These are not human beings. They're bad, and I see that today. You see a certain political side and they post on Facebook, this is evil, they're not humans, and we have to, it's so much easier, depending on which side you are, to chase a baby killer down the street and hit him over the head, or chase the racist down the street and shoot him, than to hurt Jeff or Jill.
All right.
Because you're taking the names away, you're taking humanity away, and everything. And people are so indoctrinated at the moment and hardwired, and this is where it becomes really tricky. It takes a longer time, years, and you become hardwired, and you just don't see a certain part of the population as human beings anymore. And this is exactly what happened in Germany. So whoever listens, don't get me wrong. Jews. I'm not saying that one or the other groups are Nazis or whatever. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even saying that the one group are racist, the one group are that or whatever. That's not even the point. It's like we're taking each other's humanity, and this is also how I got involved in all that. Because look, I didn't talk about my past for 10 years because I didn't understand. I was sitting there actually like you, looking at my former self, and I was like, why? I could not explain to myself why I did this. I could not explain why I stayed in there, why I believed all that. It went against any logic, and I knew that,
right.
Those years later. And it took a couple more years and talking to professionals that help people leave those environments and have actually experience. And I could talk with them, and that made me reflect on my past. And this made me reflect on my childhood, and it was not an easy childhood for me. I'm coming from a dysfunctional family and everything, so I was looking for that purpose. There was a sense of belonging and everything. I wanted to be somebody. And when I understood all this and my way into that movement, and then why I didn't get out for so long, then it made sense. I could explain it to myself, and this is exactly what I see, how it repeats itself, how people get in radical groups, violent groups, extremist groups. And when we talk about extremist groups, extremism is never good. That's not even
anything extreme.
Yeah, extreme religion.
The word is kind of itself. Right. Even me. Just to give you a little background about myself, I'm a pastor, and I've been pastor for 10 years. But I wasn't I wasn't a pastor always. You know, I lived my lifestyle, and you know, as you were saying that people wanted to belong to something. So I had both my parents, you know, and so, but I joined a gang when I was younger because I was bullied in middle school.
Same here.
And the same guy that bullied me was the superior of the gang. And so, you know, I got into that lifestyle. And when you say gang, I'm not talking about an LA gang, you know, murder, bang, 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 murder. But, you know, we did our things, you know, maybe, you know, broke in some places, stole some things and got in trouble and, you know, went to jail for drinking or, you know, some things like that, and maybe doing, you know, selling drugs or whatever. But, so after I got
actually
mad,
never went over the threshold.
I never went over the threshold. Why? Because I had that.
I mean, I was at one time I was really close, and I was almost connected to a couple of groups that went into like almost terrorism. You know?
Oh wow!
I was like, dude, man,
can't go
that's
there.
Some tough stuff. So
and you know that comes from some type of teaching. You know, so you know in your heart you weren't meant to be that person.
Right.
Because if you know how to go to that threshold, you know how to stop, then you know how to stop hating. If you know how to go to that threshold, I mean, you know how to stop gangbanging because you know a limit to go. So if you know that limit from everything and how far to go into what you're going into. And so that's what I got into. I got to a limit when I was gangbanging. I got to a limit where it was hurting my mom, you know, because I had my mom, my dad, and, you know, it wasn't a fatherless home or motherless home. No, I had my siblings and my parents. So it wasn't anything missing. They took care of me. They loved me like they're supposed to. I went to school. I did all those things. But, you know, it was a sense of belonging to something else versus where I was. And so, you know, all that stuff built up, and then I became who I became. But I knew those limits, though, because I was taught that when I was younger, you know, what was right, what was wrong, doing this. And so, and then we build, you know, some type of form of hate as well, because even though we were maybe in the same culture, but we hated the next color, you know, and whether it was a color of a person, but we were hating the color of a bandana or color that they stood for. And so it was still some type of hate.
But it's still, you dehumanized those who wore the different color.
Yeah.
You didn't see them as human beings anymore, right? And it was so much easier to chase them down the street than Little J that you may have known, you know?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You forget these names. You just know, oh, he's with, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And so I built from that, and, you know, and my childhood friend, my wife, she was my childhood friend, and we later on got married after we got out of high school, and I started to see things different. I started to see the formality of family and the home, you know, because I grew up in that, and so I started changing, and in that change, I started finding myself, you know, being in church more, and so I started finding myself being called into the ministry. So I got called into the ministry, and then after that, you know, years later, I started a church, and so that's who I became. But my story. But
it took a while for you.
Yeah,
too,
it took me a while. Yeah. It wasn't as quick as I'm talking about it, you know. But I got to that place where that change happened, because I came to a point where this is not me. Why am I doing this? You know, just like you said.
But look, a lot of people who are stuck in this, they even nowadays with this political hatred, you know. I talk to people sometimes and I'm like, man, I actually don't want to think that, but it overcomes me, and then they blabber out this whatever, mostly on social media, you know, and they rant on social media and really, really bad stuff. And when you talk to them, you have a coffee, and they're like puppies.
You got the blue and the red. You got the
it's the blue and red again, right?
it's almost like a gang, and you know.
Yeah, it's look.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's dehumanizing, or it's making a person feel lesser than the other one, and it's superior. You know, who's superior, who's better, who's a better group, when it should all be focused on what is better for the people of America, and not what's better for my group to do for the people of America.
Yeah, and this is, you know, when people ask me, TM, do you think there's more hate around in the last couple of years? And I was like, you mean since 2016? I said, no. Like, are you crazy? I said, no, really. That hatred has always been here. It just comes to the surface, you know, and people feel more comfortable sharing it. And all the people that are against the hatred, they always thought they don't have to speak up because everything is okay. Now they see the necessity to actually speak up against that hatred, you know. And somebody And it doesn't matter on which side I am. But for example, somebody says, "Man, we need to get rid of Trump." For example, look, even if he gets like abducted by aliens tomorrow, the problems are not gone, because you have the base, the people that are voting,
system.
and that's where it comes from, and they say, yes, we have to vote and everything. This is important. But those people, Biden will be gone in 4 years, or earlier. I mean, those people are old, Biden is 78, Trump is 74. In 10 years, they will be gone. You are still here. I'll be still here. Everybody will still be here. And we are building this country, We have to build it on a local level. There's always, I say, yes, we don't agree on everything either. But why are we friends? Because of the things we agree on, right?
Right.
Why are you married to Tam? Because of the things you agree on,
Exactly.
You didn't start dating her because of the things you disagreed on.
Yeah.
So
then I got to add, she's so beautiful, so I had to date her anyway. I have to find. That's just a plug. I hope she's listening.
So these are just things. Beauty and all that. They're all factors that are important,
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't date somebody who's awesome. We agree on everything, but I wouldn't like the looks. I mean, it's just still a thing. It's not all about character. It's most of the people who say that, I think, mostly lying.
Right.
But that's only one factor that attracts you.
Yeah.
Because somebody who's gorgeous and then the rest you don't agree on anything doesn't work out,
Exactly.
What happens?
It won't last long. That's why you got divorced,
Yeah, and this is what this country does,
Yeah.
Those two sides are divorcing because also they talk about the things they can't agree on. And what I mean here, I have a little story. You will realize every Monday I will tell a lot of stories. So I love it.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, I created the Memphis Peace Conference. 2018, the first time at Withers Collection and Gallery in Memphis. By the way, if you haven't been there, go there. They're on Beale Street. Ernest Withers was a black photographer who did sports, the civil rights movement, music, and everything. It's awesome. Go there and tell them TM said hi. And they're awesome people there too. Anyway, now I forgot my point. Look at that. Wanted to give them a plug and forgot my point.
Yeah, plus, Ernest Withers is some part of my
Memphis Peace Conference, right. And I decided to hold the peace conference there. No COVID, so we could sit down. It was actually in September. And in the morning, we had an interfaith level, so I'm very active in the interfaith community, bring different faith leaders and believers together. And in the afternoon, I said, let's have a community panel with the shakers and movers in the metro area, and I invited the feminist, the Democrat, the liberal, the black guy, everybody, and the usual suspects, when you think you're doing something good. And the day or 2 days before the event, I made the name tags, and I was like, man, I forgot somebody. It was 2018, it's just big drama about the midterms and everything, border wall and abortion and whatever, all these topics. And I was like, man, I left out the white conservative Southerner. And I felt guilty about it because I was like, man, there's a lot of those around, and how can I try to make this a better community and then I leave half of the community out?
Right.
That's not fair. But it's also because we always think, well, we have nothing in common. Why should I invite somebody from the other side, So I had a friend who I knew who actually fits in this category, and I called him up and said, look, you know what I'm doing. You know what I did in my past. You know what I'm doing with that conference. Would you like to represent this part of the community? And he said, yeah. I said, but I have one requirement. I said, we're not talking about the border wall. We're not talking about abortion. Oh, there's a couple other these topics where you have these typical one-topic voters,
Yeah, exactly.
I said, these are things we will not be able to agree on. So for now, if you haven't found out on which side of the political spectrum I am now you probably know. So I said, we're probably not agreeing on these things. It's a dead horse that we're beating, and we will talk for 2 hours about immigration and the border wall and abortion and stuff like that, and the time will be over and we have achieved nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So my requirement is that we're not talking about these things. If you want to come to the table with us, let's talk about the things that are happening here in the community. And of course, abortion is always a topic, but no, it's about prevention.
Yeah,
this is what Planned Parenthood about is. It's not about abortion. It's how to teach young women to take care, birth control,
whether it's through appeal or education.
Before they get pregnant. Talk about these things. Talk about the real problems in the community and how we can solve these. How we can grow as a community, grow together. And he agreed, and we had the greatest conversations and made plans and everything. It was great. But you have just to sit down, and even today, it's getting harder and harder because I think social media is a monster.
Yeah,
where a lot of people just put their beliefs out, and again, that they spitting out their hateful stuff on social media. And when you call them and said, "Hey, let's meet at Starbucks or something," and they're puppies, and you realize. And
a lot of people lost a lot of friends. There's been a lot of friends lost because of the social media stuff.
I've been like, I have a Black Lives Matter T-shirt. I have my F racism T-shirt and stuff, and I wear those in everyday life. It's not just when I go to a rally or something or a protest. And I lost so many friends over this. They called me and texted me, over a T-shirt or because I posted it out that because I went to a protest. Said, man, you hate your own people. I said, dude, no, I don't. The secret is I don't hate anybody.
Yeah.
So some people are just. Again, hardwired, but they're still human beings. And with some of them, I could actually sit down afterwards and explain my point, and they started to listen. But only because I opened up and I said, yes, I know there's common ground. I know that we have commonalities. Even though you think you are about All Lives Matter, I'm about Black Lives Matter. And I mean, Black Lives Matter too. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's a different topic, We could fight over this all day long. But let's talk about some really fundamental things, and sit down. And once the other side knows that you're open to talk and show a certain respect to, they're open to listen to. This is what happened to me as a white supremacist back then. You would think, well, I don't want to talk to those people. But what do you want to do with those people? Just want them to go away? I remember earlier this year, just before Corona, I had a speaking tour. So I do a lot of lectures, high schools, colleges, and I went to Chattanooga. And I spoke at a big church there. And there were like 500-600 people. And one couple was asking about, so we need to address these problems. We just can't sit down and talk to them. I said, look, you have to see what do you want to do with those people, I get it. Your first response when the KKK comes to town, you are making signs and you yell at them, KKK, go away. Because that's what feels right? But the thing is, I asked them, so when they come here and you do that, where do you want them to go? And they were like, well, back to Knoxville, where they came from. Said, well, okay, I get your point. You don't want them here. But do you only want people to go away, or do you want the opinions to go away? Would you rather have those people change,
right? And that's
become your brothers, if there's a possibility, or just want to ignore the problem and send them away. And that's the hard part, especially when it comes to minorities. And I speak a lot in the Black community. I speak a lot in the Jewish community. Both are very vilified, by a lot of groups. I say it, and this is where I call every white person. It's not the job of Black people or Jewish people to fight racism or anti-Semitism. No, it's about the good white people or good Christian people to fight that and tell their white people not to do that or sit down with them. So, and this is also why I'm doing this, because, hey, I'm white, and that's why I'm sitting down with white people, and I hate to shock them sometimes, saying, hey, you've got it. And they're like, right. What? White privilege. No, I don't. I said, slow down. You were born with it. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it. It sticks on you like poop. I'm sorry to break the news. And the thing is, you don't know that you have it because you never not had it, You don't know how it is not to have it. Therefore, you don't know how it is like, to, I mean, I would say I don't have much money, but I'm not doing bad, you know. I know how it is to starve, but a lot of people who never starved, they don't feel rich either because they never starved. But if somebody who once starved, they're rich.
Right.
So,
yeah. So that's, I feel like I'm sitting here interviewing you. I mean, I guess it is what it is. But I know a lot of people just
is
listen.
Is it good or bad?
It's radio. So, right. I guess a lot of people, some people are listening. I hope a lot of people are listening.
Yeah.
If I was listening, I would want to know how me and you got together. How do we get to this point?
Yeah, one thing before I forget this, because sometimes I have so many thoughts in my head and I forget things and what my point was like before. I loved what you said earlier, my Me Too partner. And this is what I said when I say white people have to stand up against racism and have to fight against it, and have to tell other white people not to be racist. And this is everybody who's listening out there, find your Me Too partner. Or if you're white and you don't have one, well, maybe go to a black friend, a real black friend that you think you have, and start talking about these problems. And hey, ask him, hey, I heard it on the radio. It's a great idea. Can I be your Me Too partner? And then really listen to what the issues are, and then just be there for your Me Too partner or for your friend.
Right.
So
I guess it's how. To those that we was talking about earlier, how the lifestyle that I lived, I just remember the time when you guys posted, with the campaign that was going on,
erasing the hate,
and that that we was talking about the stuff that sticks to you. That your past maybe and you can't get rid of.
Yeah, and one thing that sticks are tattoos.
Tattoos.
You have some. I had some.
So it sticks to you, and then many times we talked about you can't take your shirt off and things because people are gonna ask you, hey, what does that mean? Where that come from?
Or try to get a job and you have your tattoo like you have Crips or Bloods on your neck or something.
Yeah, or people
or maybe a swastika if you're a white dude and have been in a racist group.
Or people are going to ask most of the time, what that means. And then, or even if not what that means, some people are going to know what it means. And they mean like, oh.
And might turn their backs on you and like, oh, okay.
Oh, what they do, what
right.
who they are.
But the problem is with those tattoos, they're permanent. And they might be 10 years old, but for somebody who looks at you, they don't know how old they are. They don't know if you have been out of that lifestyle for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or yesterday, doesn't matter. And this is where I had tattoos as well, and so did Ray. And for me, it was very important to do something against it. I had like 2 tattoos left when I moved here to the US, and one, it was not even a white supremacist tattoo. I had a spider web on my elbow. And it was just a thing that a lot of people overseas did because it just fits good on a joint. But when I moved here, a lot of people, almost everybody was like, you did time? Been to prison? I said, no. And I had to defend myself all the time, over and over and over and over. And people started not to believe me. They thought I'm bullshitting them. And I tried to do something. So I had a little bit of money, went to a couple of tattoo shops, and was like, can you do something about it? And the problem is also a lot of judgment. Like, looking at you and like, I don't want to touch a gang tattoo or something like that. And also, like, what do you want there? And this is a problem. Imagine you have a painting and you go to a painter and you ask him to make it go away. A painter is an artist. He won't understand what you're talking about. He can tell you, I'm making you a new painting, The same thing there. You tell him, make it go away. And the tattoo artist is like, I need to know what you want. And also budget-wise. And they were like, we don't know how long it takes and whatever. And I said, well, look, I'm on a budget and it needs to go. And I found one tattoo shop in Horn Lake. Unfortunately, they're not participating in the campaign anymore. There was Six Side Tattoo Studio. But for a long time they did. And great friends of mine. And when I went there the first time in 2013, the tattoo artist that drew just felt my pain. and just offered his help and took the little money that I had and made it go away. He came up with an idea because I didn't know. I told him, just make it black, just make it go away. And a couple of years later, actually right after Charlottesville happened, I had so many people reaching out to me who wanted to leave extremist environments, mostly racist groups, but also some gangs. And they saw me as a possibility that I can help them to make the transition. But they also had the same problem. A lot of them had tattoos. And they were like you said, you don't want to take your shirt off or whatever, You may have to explain your children what that tattoo means.
Right.
You maybe don't want to tell your 5-year-old yet what that means, You just want it to go away. You want to look at yourself as a human being again. So I asked them, what do you think about if we offer to cover out those tattoos for free? Just to give those people a new chance.
Yeah, because they're expensive, right? Those tattoos can get up there.
Yeah, and a lot of people who were in gangs and like a lot of racist groups and clan groups, they're like gangs as well. And a lot of those had like addiction problems and are still struggling with it. And look, I don't want somebody to spend $500 on their tattoo and then they can't pay their light bill, and they do some stupid shit to pay the light bill. Right. Or maybe the family doesn't have any lights, No, I don't want that. I want them just to get rid of that and get a job, and have the possibilities without those tattoos and stuff like that. And so we started that, and we put it on Facebook, and I didn't think much would happen, but it got shared within 30 minutes 200 times and thousands of likes. And TV jumped on it, so Channel 24 did a piece on it. And they needed somebody for the camera, so I reached out to the couple people who reached out to us that had tattoos. And one was Ray.
Yeah. So yeah, one of my members, I remember one of my members shared it because I've always, I've always used my testimony and and just kind of tell my testimony of who I were back in the day before I changed. And so I remember they tagged me into that post. And then that's when I inboxed Six Side Tattoos, and then they said, "Hey, this guy TM is going to contact you." And then that's when I got an inbox from you. It was like, right. Which was crazy because I had got to a point where okay, I'm ready to cover it up because that took a minute to do that because I was like, I'm just not gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna hide it the rest of my life. And I said, okay, I'm at a point where I'm ready to cover it up. And so when I told you about it, you said, yeah, we can cover it up. And then you hit me with this. It's going to be on live TV. I was like, hold up, let me get back with you because that don't look good for a pastor to be getting a tattoo on live TV. So what happened was I went back and I kind of related to my congregation. And then, me and my wife talked about it. It's like, we think that'll be dope. Go ahead and do it. So that's when I reached back out to you. He's like,
yeah. And the thing is, Ray didn't know about my past at that point. I was just a dude at the tattoo shop. We asked.
I actually thought you wanted the tattoo artist.
No. Yeah. Oh man, I can't tattoo. I probably
stick man. You can draw.
Right, probably. And I remember after it came out, I think I called you or we texted on Facebook, and I sent you a couple of links.
Yeah.
About my past, and I remember we went to Texas Roadhouse in Horn Lake. That's where we met. I remember where we sat. That was our first talk, actually. And you were
before the social distancing.
Yeah, before, right. And you were a little bit leery, okay, you're meeting with the former clan leader.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't, resentful. But it was also like, okay, what's behind this? What's the in the fine reading?
Was it a little bit like, can people change?
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't feel that people can change, I never would have shown up.
You're an example too.
Yeah, so I knew, okay, all of us are X something. All of us chose a lifestyle that wasn't, good for a community or for being a great citizen, doing things that goes against the grain. So everybody has that story, whether it's a white supremacist, a black gang member, a prostitute, or a con artist or whatever. We all have that story, that we was an X something. And so giving people an opportunity to expel their new self or, to change and to explain their change to you. I think we all should give people that opportunity, just like a Democrat should give a Republican an opportunity to speak and, you know, and show what, you know, how they feel about this certain area, and then vice versa without the conflict, you know. And so I just kind of felt that, and I said, okay, I'm gonna give this a chance because this could be bigger than I can, you know, that I see right now. So that's when we met, and we had a great conversation, man. I can't remember what it was, but I know after we took a picture, a selfie, so it had been great. Yeah. And so after that, man, it just kept rolling, and that campaign kept going. And then I remember our platform, we said, hey, you know, these people that's coming out of the movement that may be a little afraid and not used to certain things, that's, you know, our game plan was, you get them out of the movement, get them out of that you know, the white supremacy movement, and I'll be their first point of contact of a minority.
Right, because it makes it easier, because you're the buddy type, you know.
Right.
So and I have different steps when people. I'm not going there and pull them out of the movement. I mean, people need to be ready somehow. But when they come and they're somewhat ready, but a lot of their beliefs are still there, you know, they just want to get away from violence or maybe afraid of prison and all that stuff. And then they need to change up here and destroy that hatred. And it's easier to get them together with a buddy type. And in this case, somebody who used to be in a gang and that they can relate to. I remember when you're talking to the one former Klansman, you were talking about codes and number codes. I'm like, oh yeah, we had that too.
Yeah.
Oh, we had this too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had color things too. You know, and I was standing there like, that is so crazy. And that already tells you how stupid it was, how you both were involved in that.
Exactly.
But I didn't
a lot of the similarities.
But I didn't judge. And this is also very important when I talk to those people, work with them, that there's no judgment, because look, I was there too. I know how easy it goes. And now again, we have only like 8-9 minutes left for today's show. And I think we should use that, maybe talk a little bit about what's happening tomorrow. But here, judgment. Judgment. We're judging other people. You walk out the door and there's somebody coming, maybe a white guy with a pickup truck, and you already think, oh, it's a Trump voter.
Yeah.
And you're not even interested anymore what his name is. Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Another guy sees whatever, maybe it might be a stereotype, you know, but the black Democrat, you know, for example. Yeah. But so I see this happen, that a lot of white people think that they see like the black dude walking up and they're like, oh, it's probably a Biden voter, you know. Because they're stereotypes.
When you hear Republic, you hear white, and when you hear Democrat, you hear black. That's why those things are said.
Which is technically that's wrong, because you shouldn't be defined to those colors, or it both ways, you know.
Right.
But this is just prejudices, that we have biases.
Right.
And all of us are still as biased. I mean, you probably catch yourself sometimes too, that you just assume
look at it and be like,
how somebody looks like, he must do this or do that or think that or love like this or whatever, you know. And this is just, I had a post on Facebook and a couple of days ago, and I said, what I'm more afraid of than who wins this election is how people will treat each other after the election.
Yeah. So let me say this, since we, you know, our time is running out and I want to really get this out. What do you say to the person that are listening right now who are, you know, just don't know who to vote for or how to vote, you know, the ways to vote? Because there's been top numbers on people who had never voted before that has registered to vote, and they may not know how to vote, and they get on that ballot and see names that they're not familiar with and just go to mark. So with that, how would you tell a person the way to vote?
And this is something personal. I'm not telling people to vote this or this side. This is not my job. I just do what you think that is good for your conscience, that you really think from your heart that is good, without thinking bad about other people, you know? And this is when it comes to one-issue voters, or single-issue voters, that are like, I'm against this. This is why I'm voting for that person.
One thing, yeah.
Right. And it's often I'm against this, but you don't want to admit that you're against it because you're also automatically for something, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a big problem. More important, voting is important. Everybody go out and vote what you think is what is right.
Yeah.
So if you can vote, you should vote. Period. Go and vote. And I think many people are aware. I know the NAACP has done a great job here in Holly Springs, educating and making sure that people know how to vote and register them to vote and everything. So I think we're good set there, that a lot of people, especially Black community, many people who have never voted before, are doing it.
Right.
But it's important tomorrow, instead of being ugly to each other, because you may know your neighbor is voting for the other side.
Yeah.
No matter if you're on it doesn't matter if you're out there and listening. I don't care on which side you are if you're listening now. But you may have a neighbor who votes for the other side. Don't be ugly, because you knew these people by name. You probably were friends with them, and your kids played together, and you knew everything about each other. And it was probably more important that the one was for Mississippi State and the other one for Ole Miss.
Right.
But you even forgot these things, these sports rivalries. They're gone.
The similarities, though. I mean, you have so much more in common than you have, that's not in common. So our heart is for the people that is listening to this show, and to the people that are in our community, period, is to, one, like TM said, use your right to vote. You have to, you need to vote.
Absolutely.
Because you cannot sit back and watch TV and complain, but you hadn't voted.
Right. But don't judge other people because they vote different from you. They're human beings, and the commonalities you have with them are so much bigger than maybe the color of your skin or the color of your party,
Yeah. And so when you go out and vote, you make sure that your heart is towards, learn policies, of course, but make sure your heart is towards where you want to see this country go, because it's not about Biden, it's not about Trump, it's about you, the American worker, the one that gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning, who works and take care of their family. What's going to benefit you in your community, your local voting, because that's the biggest thing, the local voting, and then having the heart to be in harmony with someone. Because I know there's going to be probably issues at the voting booths where, or in the line that people may taunt somebody else with, I'm voting for Trump, and then there may be some things between that, because I don't know if you saw the video, but they it was a lot of Trump supporters were following the tour bus,
in Texas,
and so all of that is happening, and so is becoming very, very dangerous to this point.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that people that really ignites violence and everything. And if you're out there and you're listening, don't judge the other person for how they vote. See them as your friends. Love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus didn't say, love them only if they vote for one side or the other, right. Or only if they're whatever,
Right.
And no, we just have to see the humanity. And please, everybody out there, my last word: go vote tomorrow. But again, Trump will be gone in like 5-10 years. Biden will be gone in 5-10 years. A lot of those people will be gone. But you out there, you will still be there. Your neighbor who votes different will still be there. This is what we have to build a community on. And we have to bring that humanity back.
Right.
Please don't forget that if you go to the polls tomorrow and vote, it's compassion and unconditional love. And this nation can get back to that. I'm convinced.
And again, we'd like to thank you guys. This is our first show. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll have a lot more content coming up, and we will make sure that we always promote unity, being together, doing things in some type of common unity, because your community needs you and needs each other. So we just thank you guys for allowing us to speak to you guys this morning. Tonight. I'm used to preaching. So
tonight. And we hope you're tuning in again next week, 6 p.m. on Monday.
At Erase the Hate. We thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.